Well, hello there and welcome back to the Cozy Club, my friends. We've got the finally long-awaited September tier list ready to go today, and me and you are going to review every single character within Disney Sorcerer's Arena. Now, Cozy Club, our last tier list was way back in July, very early July, and since then, we have received some crazy powerful new characters that have shifted the meta quite dramatically. And in addition, we've got some crazy awesome new leadership abilities that are going to supercharge some older characters to some new tiers. And with all that of the old tier list, I owe a major thanks to you guys as we hit over 800 likes on the last tier list video, and I really can't tell you guys how much that really supports me as a content creator and the club overall. So let's hope we can hit it again and maybe we cross, I don't know, the 1,000 mark. Now, if you've been hanging out at the club for a while, just like last time, we're going to have not one, but two different weighted tier lists today, with the first one being a master overall tier list that includes PvP, raid viability, club conquest, and defense. It's going to be the main tier list that we talk about today. And then with PvP just being such an important and vital part of DSA, that definitely deserves its own tier list and what a lot of people are going to be looking for. We'll be discussing that in the later half of today's video. Man, we've got two different tier lists, just a ton to go over, so strap up, you guys. Now, one more thing I wanted to mention before we began, guys, is I tried to make this a fast video last time, and people actually preferred the longer video of me explaining these characters a little bit more. So, again, we do have the graphics if you guys want the quick version. However, I will be spending a little bit of time breaking this down, and yes, I can't see the upload time, but it's probably over the 30-minute mark. Now, as the final and last bit of business, if you guys are new here to the Cozy Club, allow me to break down everything this amazing community has to offer, starting out with our amazing Discord community. We have such an awesome online Discord community where you can talk team strategy, ask for advice for the raids or any other game mode, talk football, food, or really whatever. It's an awesome place to be, and that link will be down in the description below, as well as all the graphics that you see here on today's video. In addition, if you just can't get enough of the hype, baby, here at the Cozy Club, we've got an awesome online Twitch community where I stream about 3 up to 5 times a week. Guys, here you're going to be able to find some awesome creative segments, trivia, great strategy collecting, and all in all, we get to talk one-on-one as a community. Super cool place to be, and I can promise you, you're going to have a good time. Alrighty, Cozy Club. Well, as I talked about before, we've got not one, but two tier lists to talk about today. The Master Overall tier list, and then finally the PvP tier list. We're going to start off in the F tier of the Master Overall tier list. And again, as a refresher, we're going to be ranking these characters from F all the way up to S tier. To put it lightly, Walt Disney would be absolutely ashamed of the characters on this list. They are dumpster fire, they're trash, garbage, horrible characters within this game, and these are the ones that you definitely want to stay away from. Sorry to start off on such a bad note, but it's just they're bad. There's nothing good to say about them. In the F tier category, you're going to find Shank, Jangles, Queen of Hearts, Frozone, Jessie, and Hermes. Now, all of these are not great characters, maybe within the Summoner Showdown, but definitely not in the core aspects of the game, either lacking something major within their kit and overall just needing a rework or some type of a new leadership to amp them up to bring them to any tier besides the F tier. Overall, looking at all of the game modes, these characters by far provide the least amount of viability. In all of my testing and all of my gameplay, I have found little to no use, and they're just missing a little something, whether it's cooldowns, ability damage, or just overall kit design. Bad. Let's go ahead and move things along. As always, I don't like spending a ton of time in the F, D, and even C tier. There's not a lot to discuss as they're just not great characters. And if you want to know anything specific about a character, feel free to comment down below, go to my Discord, or find me on Twitch. I would love to break down them more. Let's hop on over to the D tier. Taking a look at the D tier, guys, again, these characters are going to have little to no use within the game. They have either outdated kits, no particular synergy, no great plug-and-play ability, or they just don't have any use within the raid. And with the new raid coming out, we really want to make sure that these characters have their use in different game modes. Now, to quickly highlight a few of these characters, we're going to start off with Steamboat Mickey, an outdated beta tank that really can't do much within the game. Hopper is interesting. He had a bug that made him great, and now that it's been fixed, he's just not going to cut it. Even within Summoner Showdown, he struggles to find placement, and he does have an AoE purge, but outside of that, he's not going to offer a ton. Looking at Aladdin, you guys know how much I love the Renaissance era of Disney, but Blue does not. And Aladdin has not been touched up since the beginning of the game, and outside of his magic carpet, he's just not a great character. You had Jasmine, who got beefed up a ton, as you'll see, with the princesses getting all that synergy, but he falls in the Kingdom faction, and he's now looking at the bottom tier of that faction, definitely in need of a rework for one of Disney's most beloved characters. Kronk does have some nice cleansing, and Yzma did get a rework, however, he is still not great. Darkwing Duck, Flynn, and Cogsworth are just not going to offer up enough support to warrant a roster spot. And then you have Mordu, who's that villain just begging to get that kit rebuff or refresh. Just like the Queen of Hearts, them two are drastically looking out of balance. And you have characters like Randall, who I think are going to get a rework with Monsters Inc. in the future. But Mordu, I don't know when that's going to come, but for now, he's going to be in the D tier. All right, next we've got the C tier, and this is one of my favorite tiers because it's the fun tier, but not usable. Like, they're all a lot of fun to use. However, they're not going to be great within the game. Now, let's go ahead. Let's break down some of these characters and give you guys a better idea of why we place some of these characters within the C tier. Starting with Mrs. Potts. Miss Potts is a healer that is used to get Beast, and that is about where her viability stops. Concerning Goofy, just a complete crime where he is rated, and I wish he could be better, but his stats, his abilities, nothing makes the case for him to go anywhere above this outside of that Club Conquest, which is the only thing that even gave him a C tier ranking. We have Jack Skellington, Manticore, Dale, who, fun fact, is the only adventurer that didn't get buffed up much. Everyone else left and skyrocketed up the tier list with Frank and Lily and some of the new adventurers, but Dale could just not cut it. With Dale as well, we've got Randall, Boggs, Rafiki, and Sally. You guys are seeing all these within the Summoner Showdown. Great in that game mode, so everywhere else. Maximus, who's great in Club Conquest with the summons and does an okay double taunt, but outside of that, not going to offer a ton of viability. The damage dealer Anger and Jack Sparrow. Now, I'm pumped. Jack Sparrow can be used in some top meta teams, and he can actually do his job a ton in that PvP aspect of the game. You guys are going to see him ranked a lot higher on the PvP tier list. However, with his raid viability and what he offers up altogether, not that great. So he's still going to be in the C tier range. Maybe we get Pirates of the Caribbean characters and maybe he buffs up even more. But for now, this is where Jack is going to reside. And to finish it up, we've got Tinkerbell and Sully. And Tinkerbell just got a refresh, isn't going to break out of this. And Sully he's not going to move until Mike Wazowski comes in the game. So that is the C tier. Let's take a look at that B tier ranking Cozy Club. We are moving with some great pace. We're at the B tier. That stands for barely usable. Now, I did make that up, but these characters are pretty solid altogether. They can be used in some PvP teams to offer up something within the raid, like they're not a wasted spot to bring in. Club Conquest and Defense, they can at least put up a fair fight. Let's go ahead and check out the B tier. Starting with Lumiere, who is starting to make his case within PvP. He's slowly climbing up, and on the PvP side of things, definitely is somewhat usable. Not great in the other game modes as much, but definitely warrants a jump up in the tier list. Next is Violet Pete, who we talked about in the last tier list, and King Candy. Now, King Candy, he did provide the villains a tank, but his overall speed and his kit synergy with Sweeten, it's just not there yet. I don't know what needs to come out, but he's definitely not that great of a villain. And altogether, I was having higher hopes for him. He just doesn't quite cut it. We have Olaf with some great helpful effects, and he can really beef up Elsa and some of the other characters with tactics and a charm. He has climbed up a bit, along with Sorcerer Mickey and Phil, who are some great supports for the game. Next are the Disney superheroes, the Incredibles. Incredibles. I don't know the rest of the song, but it's a shame that they're not better. They need to be a much better, and I'm hoping that the Incredibles are worth the next rework overall. I don't know. I think they might be scared to rework Dash, as he can pack a freaking huge punch, but they're just grossly misrepresented within the game, and I definitely want there to be something to provide more synergy and reason to play as both of them. Without the family, they're not great, and even with the family, they're so-so. Moving right along, we've got Scar and Megara. Now, Megara is going to be higher up on the PvP tier list, offering great support for Hercules, but in other game modes, she doesn't quite cut it. Bo Peep got a little bit of a bump up with the Adventurer faction, and she can get some guaranteed stuns out there, and overall, her kit's a lot better with Lily and Frank's arrival in the new leadership with the Adventurer faction. We have Yzma staying about the same, Pluto and Demona finding themselves in the B tier, followed by Genie, Robin Hood, Syndrome, and Lotso. Now, I do expect maybe Robin Hood and Genie to move out the Kingdom faction right now in this stage of the game. I'll save a lot of this for my faction breakdown video where I'm going to compare all the factions within the game and help people get caught up a little bit of what the overall picture in the state of the game looks like. But I do expect the Kingdom faction to keep rising as we continue to go through the months and we get more characters like Evil Queen, Maleficent, or even Snow White. We talk about that a lot on my Twitch channel. We talk about characters that are going to be safe to invest in because more characters are coming out in said faction. Like the princesses, we know there's Cinderella and Snow White and a lot more coming, so they're safe to invest in and they just are dominating the game now. So yeah, be on the lookout for that faction overview video by subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss out on any Cozy Club videos. Let's go on to the B+ tier. All right, we are at the peak of the bell curve, the B+ tier, guys. And here you're going to notice some absolutely fire characters. These characters moving forward are great. They might just be lacking in 1 or 2 game modes, or they might just be like not usable in some cases within the game. But overall, they're pretty usable on most teams. And yeah, let's take a look. Starting off, we've got Captain Hook, Ariel, who got a nice bump up with the Princess faction, the Horn King, who's got his uses in the Phase 2 of the raid, Elastigirl, who's going to have some amazing offense damage capabilities, followed by Sven and Buzz Lightyear. Now, Buzz Lightyear is going to show off big time in the Summoner Showdown, and I expect him to keep getting better. I don't know why, I just think there's more Toy Story characters to come, and he's just such an iconic character. All in all, Buzz Lightyear is actually pretty solid. With the right spells, he's got some amazing damage, and he's got very low cooldowns that offer up a stun and some assisting. He's such an iconic character, and I hope they give him a little bit of a retouch up, or maybe new Toy Story characters to help kind of bump all the toys up together. Now we've got the King of the Jungle, Simba, who's got some good turn meter reduction, but outside of that, finds it tough to fit himself into a team. We have Judy Hopps, who, fun fact, is the downtown hero leader at the moment, and when Gear 9 comes and the new abilities, she might skyrocket as her leadership is getting a tremendous bump up, guaranteeing a nice stun when harmful effects are placed. We have Woody, Wally, who would be higher if they would fix the bug with his basic involving Eve, Kristoff, who has a nice tank ability and overall can do some nice supporting in each of the game modes, Big Bad Wolf, who has some big bad damage against the hero characters. He's great for purging taunts, and I especially expect him to jump up. I just don't know what it's going to take. Overall, his abilities, they're there. They're insane. His stats just lack a little bit. We're going to see what comes out. Maybe he'll bump up by the next one. But right now, B+ feels about right for the Big Bad Wolf. Corella did fall from the last time we did the tier list, and that's because she just doesn't fit into other game modes that well, and defense doesn't control her great. However, Corella in the right hands, and as you'll see in the PvP tier list, is a monster. People aren't using her enough, and she actually supplies some of the most strategy within the game. You put her with the villains and you're killing off your own teammates, but you're healing and spreading buffs and putting debuffs. Ton of fun, and probably my vote for a top 10 most fun character to use within the game. We just need to see a little bit more villains with some summons or just overall downtown villain synergy. Who knows? Dr. F did get a buff towards his leadership with harmful effects. Maybe we'll do a little bit of testing. I've got a good feeling about Corella, but again, you're going to find her higher in the PvP tier list. Now we have Chunk, Quasimodo, a distracting, powerful tank that can purge the entire battlefield of helpful effects. Pegasus, who is a plug-and-play tank to take in damage and aid Hercules. I have a feeling Pegasus is going to continue to climb as the next raid comes out. We have Big Baby Fix-It Felix, who did fall a lot because he's not finding his place in a ton of teams, but he does have some good healing for some of the game modes. Oogie Boogie, who is going to kind of always be cemented right here. Next, we have Baloo, who It's just best if I just don't say anything. Yeah, it's for the best. And wrapping up the B+, we have Wasabi, Shmi, Windy, Yokai, Sheriff of Nottingham, Jasmine, Minnie Mouse, and Cora. Now, looking at Jasmine, she did rise up a ton in viability or PvP. You guys are going to notice a nice jump for her, with Tiana bumping up the Princess faction. And we have the newcomers with the Peter Pan characters in Shmi and Windy. Overall, Windy is pretty powerful within the raid and, you know, somewhat solid in PvP. We're gonna have to keep our eyes on her, but for now, this is about where she's gonna land, and Shmi is just lacking a little bit of everything, but both of them are great within Club Conquest and Defense, which is gonna land them right here in the B+ category. Now we have arrived in the A tier, baby, and these characters get me pumped, they get me hyped, as anything past this are gonna be some awesome characters. Let's go ahead and check out the list here, guys. Y'all, these characters are going to be solid. From here on out, these are elite characters within DSA, and again, as I've said before, they're going to serve you well above average in viability in multiple game modes and are absolutely going to be worth that time even farming these characters and the resources that it takes. This game takes a lot of farming and preparing, and if you put that stuff in the wrong characters, it's going to be a bad time. Anything from here on out, it's a safe investment. For the most part, you're gonna not regret putting in your investments into these characters. Now, there's a lot in the A tier, so let's go ahead and read some of them off, stopping and talking about some a little bit more. Starting out with Fred, Prince Eric. This guy's definitely viable in so many game modes with Club Conquest Oceanic Towers, raid viability, and they fixed his bug with the crit immunity. And this guy, Prince Eric, outside of his good looks, is a great tank, man. He's a solid tank overall for your team, and definitely, if you use Oceanics, give him a shot. He's definitely worth your time. Gaston, Claude Frollo, the great villain that has amazing summons, but has to be with certain teams to work. Maurice, which is the catch-all and is only getting better with the summoned units, and Kingdom faction and Tech factions getting bump up slowly but surely. Jafar is great across all game modes and is one of the fastest characters in the game now, providing some great, charming, and altogether really solid synergy with the Kingdom villains. If you haven't heard me talk about it before, I think the Kingdom villains are going to be expected to keep on rising, as Maleficent is definitely going to be a Kingdom villain. So I expect these Kingdom villains to be a very just insane faction, especially looking forward like 6 months from now. They're my prediction on a faction that I think just gets even crazier than they already are. We have the king of the raid right now, Triton, who is just amazing, and he gives you the ability to solo phases still within the Forbidden Depths. Madam Mim, Anna, Shere Khan, and Sergeant Calhoun. Now, you'll notice we've got some rescue rangers in here with Chip and Monterey Jack, finding great viability in the overall tier list and big jumps in the PvP tier list. And that is because of the new adventure faction. Now, they're going to be great in PvP, which is what put them up a ton, and they're already great in some other game modes. Altogether, guys, these are some great characters that are now actually worth your time. Solid characters overall, and Monterey Jack, don't underestimate this guy. He's a solid tank. Stitch has fallen a ton as he's just falling down the ranks in PvP, but still is a decent option within both Club Conquest and the raids. Daisy Duck is great and is just a theory crafter's dream of just buffing so many effects, and I found some truly crazy teams with her. Really like Daisy Duck, and she has this unique thing about her, and anyone, as you guys know, anyone that has this unique trait, kind of like Madam Mim, they're going to get great placement because no one else can do what they do. Next, we have Scrooge, who is always rock solid. Raya, that has been a major riser. We're going to talk about her more in the PvP side of things. Mother Gothel, Vanellope, The Glitch, Pain and Panic, who are just insane in PvP, able to shut down most characters in the game, but they don't do a lot in the raid, so that's going to kind of hurt their overall ranking. Dr. Facilier, the newest refresh. He got even better than he was before. Donald Duck, Davy Jones, Namari, Dash, and Merlin. Now, you guys will notice Dash did fall finally. He's starting to fade, and his damage isn't quite keeping up because so many new damage dealers have come, and they're not going to be punished like Dash is with all of the turn meter that he consistently gains. Still really solid. People seem to sleep on him a little bit, but altogether he has fallen to the A tier in the overall tier list. Oh yeah, and before we wrap up in the A tier, two more things. First, Davy Jones, he's a monster. He can one-shot just about everything. Beast is the only reason he's in the A tier. He would be like one of the best if Beast didn't exist, and we're gonna get to that a little bit later. And for number 2, if you guys want to support me as a creator and again keep the dream alive, I appreciate you guys so much for supporting me on the DSA videos that I do. Feel free to join the Patreon family or just support. It helps a ton to allow me to keep pushing the limits of content creation, both in DSA and every other aspect that I do. Let's go ahead and talk about the upper class of DSA, the A+ tier. I feel like I'm in Blue's Clues, like, hey there, hey friend, are you with me? Let's talk about these clues. Man, Steve, who's the best? All right, so my definition of the A+ tier is like pretty much meta defining. They can slot into so many different teams in so many game modes, and we're going to talk about the majority of these in the PvP tier list, but let's go ahead and take a look at some of the best characters within the game, the A+ tier, starting off with Pocahontas. Now, Pocahontas barely kind of stayed in here. The Rise of Princesses did help her out. She's got a great leadership, good healing, good support. There's really nothing to hate about Pocahontas. We have Ian, the newest arrival, Peter Pan, who Peter Pan is going to be here because of his club conquest domination. Him on offense can take down so many characters. He's pretty good within the raid, and his PvP viability is honestly pretty dang solid overall. Love the Pan. We have a huge riser in Rapunzel, and there's a lot to break down about her and the rise of the Princess faction. We next have Barley, who's the jack of all trades, providing awesome support and got an adventurer buff. Merida and Mulan, the queens, or shall I say princesses of damage within the game. Zurg, Gantu, and Mickey Mouse with his overall amazing support, and just he has such an awesome kit for a legendary character. Maui, Elsa, and Shan Yu. Now, I owe an apology to Shan Yu because this man was in the S tier from the first tier list I ever did. Then he continued to be in the S tier forever. I tried to derank him and demote him because he was losing viability. Nope. I owe you an apology, Shan Yu. I know you tried to take over China, but you are insane within this game. Amazing passive, crazy leadership, overall fits in and is the king leader of the kingdom villains. We'll see if Maleficent takes that throne, but as of now, Shan Yu, you're my boy, Shan Yu. Next is Lily or Emily Blunt, the newest adventurer, who is just an awesome support and overall a very strong character to bump up the faction and bring some really unique stealing mechanics. She's great. Pair up with Frank, she's even better. And these are the newest characters outside of Tiana. Definitely have earned her place as some of the top best, and we had a feeling with new characters come pretty solid kits overall. You know, unless you're Peter Pan, which I don't understand still, but if you're a new character, you've got a solid kit, and Lily is no exception to the rule. Finishing up A+, we have Honey Lemon, Esmeralda, Gadget, Ursula, and Hero Hamada. Out of the ones that I just listed, let's talk about a couple. First, Ursula. Ursula, honestly, is going to fall a little bit. There's been some new characters that are made to counter her, and she doesn't have that viability in the raid like some other characters. Her presence in PvP is what keeps her above the rest. And Gadget was this close of being placed in the S tier. Solid in PvP, great in Club Conquest, and insane within the raid. Her defense and like Club Conquest defense isn't the best, but man, she's just solid. It is now that time of the video, the all-stars of DSA. These characters define the meta in every single game mode. They are the top of the top, and we've got some changes since the last tier list. Let's show all of them, and I'm going to have about one sentence for all of them so you understand why they are here. Starting at the bottom, we have Hades, the king of villain damage. Hades is just a damage machine. He's like the rocket launcher in those Call of Duty games. He's just pure damage, man. He doesn't offer a lot outside of that damage, but with so many crazy numbers popping up and his ability to combust in the synergy with Pain and Panic, Hades finds himself in the S tier with just amazing reliability across the board. Next is Belle, and so many people back when I put Belle in the S tier long ago just shook their heads and didn't understand why, and to my belief, she's gotten only better. Belle is insane. Like, ridiculously insane. In every game mode, she can put out the powerful Shaken or Intimidate, call people to assist like crazy for up to like 6 hits if you call the right people. Good synergy, the princesses are on the rise, puts out turn meter. I mean, there's not a lot more I need to say. Belle is nuts. Next is Tiana, the newest character in DSA, and no, this is not the new shiny toy. Tiana is legit, guys. Tiana is such a great character. Gumbo Pot could also be in the S tier if we wanted to get technical about it. Amazing in the raids, solid, insane in the Princess Towers and Club Conquest, does her job well on defense, and in PvP is a cornerstone of so many teams and one of the new best plug-and-play characters within the game. You guys are free to go ahead and check out the video about her, but there's just so much to love about Tiana. Next is Miguel, and Miguel continues to be an amazing leader who has really the jack of all trades. Moana, who just, man, again, Moana is on the rise. I feel like I can make a voice clip. I think I'm going to do that right now because every single update, there's something new to make her better. First, it was the Adventurers coming out. She's crazy. She was already crazy before that. And then Tiana, the newest princess, put her up from like, I don't know, an 11 to a 15 on a scale from 1 to 10. You do the math. It doesn't make sense. To wrap up the list, we have Baymax. He's still consistent. That pre-taunt and healing is insane. Ralph is just the get out of jail free card in every game mode, especially in PvP. Frank Wolf, Hercules, and Beast. Now, Beast, Hercules, and Frank Wolf are all very solid. I put Beast at the top of the list, this tier list, because honestly, he's the biggest problem in the game right now. In PvP, he is so hard to get around. Within the raid, the guy just puts out so much reliable damage. Club Conquest is the same as PvP, and on defense, he handles the job just fine. And the funny part is, I see people not seeing what's so great about him. He is one of those characters that is like the best of the best when he's maxed out. When he's not maxed out, he's pretty good. Still S tier, but just not like the best character. Overall though, man, Beast is awesome. Hercules is Hercules. He's still insane, crazy. There's things that I have complaints and I have compliments. Both are the same for Hercules. Love to hate him, hate to love him. It's the same thing. And Frank Wolf, who is now finding himself, in my opinion, as the third best character within the game in all game modes. His 70 to 80% turn meter reduction in raids are crazy. His PvP viability is nuts. He warrants so much attention in every game mode, and it's simply put because of his leadership in Club Adventurers, which is honestly making him one of the best choices as a leader within Club Adventurers like raids. In the new raid, you have a mass big time turn meter reduction, one of the top 2 best summons in the game, and a kit that screams OP. So ladies and gentlemen, that is your S tier, and this is the overall master tier list, including every single game mode. I know you guys are going to have questions, so again, feel free to put those down in the comments below. And next, we're going to move on quickly to the PvP tier list. I'm just going to show the entire graphic and quickly talk about some of them, the ones that we didn't so much touch in the main tier list. And again, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to either check out the videos that I've made dedicated for these characters, stop by the Discord, or if you want to stop by my stream, I encourage you, as we're going to break down this entire tier list and talk a lot more in depth about each and every character. Now, at the risk of this being a full feature Marvel film, let's get to the PvP tier list. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, well, this tier list right here is honestly the one I have the most fun talking about because PvP is such an important part of the game and really why the game is just such a big hit. You're either a character collector or you're big on the PvP game modes for the most part. Cannot wait for the new raid, and that's going to provide so much more for the master overall tier list. But let's check out the PvP tier list. Now, you guys can tell the S tier is going to mostly stay the same. That's because on the overall tier list, they have to have pretty much perfect rankings, and they're not going to fall much from that. Pain and Panic are going to be the main ones that creep into the S tier, as they are the one true counter to just about every single character. Next up is the A+, guys, and Raya is insane. I said in one of my videos that she's going to be easily S tier, and I find her being right at the cusp. She's either S tier or A+. She has the ability to wipe your entire team in a blink of an eye, and if you have any debate about Raya being this high, well, there's just not much debate. She's crazy, and her princess partner in the movie, Namari, is equal crazy. Both of their passives are amazing. Namari's passive is incredible. The Kingdom villains are an amazing faction along with the adventurers. Highlighting another big faction in a major rise is the Princess faction, with Rapunzel, Mulan, and Merida all making their way right in the A+ or top of the A. Merida and Mulan are the princess damage dealers, and you don't want to underestimate either of these, as they both have the capability of dishing out some of the biggest damage within the game. And Mulan, well, she can just delete your turn meter and make sure you never get a turn. In my overall opinion, we have S tier, which is meta defining, A+, which is going to be easily slotting into meta teams, the A tier, which is very usable, which you'll find Chip and Gadget. They are both able to be plugged into the adventure faction with those new characters, so they are going to be very usable and great characters, jumping up the most on this tier list. For the most part, all these characters in the A tier can be plugged into so many great teams, and they all serve one big purpose. There is something there that could take them down, whether it's a missing stat or a way to shut them down, but man, they're really solid, guys. The A tier, A+, and S tier are the best of the best. B+ does have some great characters like Jasmine, Fred, and Anna, who with the right teams can pair up and make some devastating, crazy damaging PvP teams. Pegasus is that all-around tank, as well as Megara, and then you've got some pretty fun characters to use. They're still usable, as you guys can see at the lower half of B+, and the B tier is starting to stretch usability overall, but they can still be plugged into so many different teams and still provide you with some great outcomes. Now, again, Cozy Club, as you guys know, I could go through all of these characters. I have something to say about each and every one, and that's why I live stream. I'm going to go ahead and put both of these graphics on my Discord, and I truly want to say thank you for making it this long in such a long video. But as you guys know, it's been such a huge time since our last tier list, and I wanted to be as thorough as possible. Alrighty, again, Cozy Club, we made it to the end, and there's so much I could say about so many of these characters. As you guys know, I have something to say about every single character, and I truly mean that. Now, I want to remind you, you guys have both of these graphics available in my Discord, and I want to thank you guys again for joining me at the Cozy Club today. Subscribe if you haven't, as it helps support a ton, and until next time, stay cozy.